Hi everyone. Just want to say welcome to everybody on our Facebook group, and also welcome to everybody that's joined us from Zoom today. My name is Jo Faraday, and this is Sheer Edge Training, first live chat of May. We're really lucky to have some brilliant guests with us today. So I'd like to give a warm welcome to Trudie Avery, who'll be talking about branding. Hi Trudie.
Hello.
And Dean Seddon, who will be talking all things marketing. Hi Dean, you okay?
Hello.
And of course, my partner in crime, Karen Edwards, is with us today as well. So,
hi everyone.
So first of all, what we're going to be talking about, we want to talk about how to give your brand the perfect edge. So we're obviously talking about, what that all means. Trudie, what is event branding and why is it important?
Well, branding in any sense, whether it's for your event, for your business, is about perception. It's a feeling and how you create that feeling, and also going back to the real beginning, working out what that feeling is. And I find an awful lot, particularly with small businesses, it's this bit that people tend to skip and go through to, oh, I want to use this color, I want to use this font, I want to use this image because they like it, and haven't really given all the due consideration to the reasons why, what they want people to perceive about them, what they want people to feel. And it's that feeling that really bonds you with your target market and with your audience. So I always get people to come back a step and say, right, stop, whoa, why?
What's important? What's the key message to get out of that? Yeah. And Dean, the same question to you, really. It's a really broad question, to be honest. But what is marketing, and why is it really important to get your message out there?
Well, again, there's parallels with what Trudie said there, is that marketing, branding are all about the delivery of a message or a feeling or an understanding. And there's a quote, and I can't remember it, but it's about what the other person receives and understands, not what you want to say. And that's where Trudie comes, is spot on, in that marketing, branding, whichever it is, it's about the message that lands with the person, not the one that you want to say. So for an example, and Trudie will know this with all sorts of stuff, but sometimes the things we want to say and what people understand can be different. And that's the same with marketing and branding. Marketing is the delivery of a message that the customer understands and the customer gets.
Yeah.
That's what they say, isn't it? The only place that branding truly exists is in the mind of the people that you're talking to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So getting under the skin of your audience is absolutely essential. Whatever way you're looking to market, that's one of the biggest elements, isn't it?
Yeah. Go on, Trudie.
Yeah. I was just going to talk about, whenever I talk about branding, I always talk about feeling and the way that you make people, or you try to make people feel, and the way that they feel, and what you're putting out there. If you don't do things on purpose, then you are still creating a brand. It would just be accidental. So it's really worth being more deliberate and considering your message and considering why that whole thing, than it is just to keep sending out messages without really thinking, well, what are the pain points of my customers and what do they need to feel in order for them to want to engage with me?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So before I ask any more questions, I forgot to mention, if anybody has got any questions, please feel free to pop it in the chat. So we can obviously ask Trudie and Dean after our questions are finished. So yeah. Trudie, would you say there are any differences between branding your business and branding an event?
Well, if you're branding your event, you might take on the brand of your business, mightn't you? You might say, well, I am this particular business and we are running this event. But I would still say actually that if that's the case, then you should still think about giving your event brand a slight twist on your actual brand, because it's all about the messages. It's all about, well, what are we saying as a brand? You might have one sort of message that you want to deliver about how you want to talk to your audience in general, but you might be more specific in your message for the event. If it was a charity fundraising event, for example, and you wanted to promote fun and, you know, a glitzy, glamorous evening or whatever. So yes, branding for your company is one thing, and branding for your event might be the same, but actually it could and would be really great to just give it a little twist of its own.
Yeah. So it's got its own unique purpose, but it's
part of the wider
picture.
Yeah,
part of the wider picture. But yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for that. And Dean, what top tips would you give to everyone for how to market successfully online right now? Because obviously we've got lots of challenges that we're up against. Should we be, you know, selling our events online? I mean, there's lots of companies doing that right now. So yeah, interested in your thoughts on that.
So marketing your business online, whether it be an event or just your general products and services, it comes down to the same thing. Who is it for? Who gets the most value? And what's I said this in the training we did for your course, Joe, about what's in it for them.
Yes.
Yeah. Often what we do is we say how wonderful we are, and we've got a family business, we're 30 years old, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But actually people want to know quite quickly what's in it for them.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that in my course too.
Yeah.
Great minds, think alike.
But it's true in the sense of what we do is, why do we buy something? If we think about the reason we buy something, it's not because we may like the product, but the primary reason is because of something that purchase allows us to do.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to be risking being sexist here, but why do women buy makeup? Because they want to look their best. Yeah. Or they want to make themselves look their best, or whatever it is, right? I'm moving forward.
Something a lot about, yeah.
Yeah. Why do people like buying certain brands? Yeah. And I know I'm stepping onto Trudie's territory. It's because they want to align their lifestyle with that brand.
Yes.
So everybody's buying into an outcome, not necessarily your event. They're buying into what your event does for them.
Yeah. Brilliant. Before we go on to sort of questions from the floor, I just wanted to sort of, thank you both for contributing to the Sheer Edge Training Academy, which is now live, so we can send out information to everybody that's interested. But Trudie and Dean have very kindly done us a branding and a marketing masterclass, so thank you both for doing that. But also, Trudie runs a successful branding company, so please feel free to reach out to Trudie of Avery Creative, and also Dean runs Maverick, and it's a fantastic marketing and advertising company, so again, feel free to reach out to them. So over to you, Karen. What questions have we got so far?
Now, we do have a couple of questions from our lovely audience. So the first one has come from Jan Denning. She's asking, what do you think are the most effective contemporary brand colours, and are the colours key?
I can take that. That's my territory.
Perfect.
Well, colours is one of the biggest tools you have in branding. So your font, your typeface, and your colour palette are huge. And colours are, and you know how I was talking about emotion and creating a feeling. Well, this is exactly what colours do. So when you're thinking about colours and how to brand yourself, don't just pick a colour because you like it. Don't just pick a colour because it's the most contemporary colour, because your brand needs to be around for a lot longer than whatever particular shade of purple is the most up-to-date and trendy colour. So think about how the colour makes you feel, and how, again, it's about this whole perception. You want to bring it back to, if you're a solicitor and you want to look trustworthy, you want to look serious, you want to look corporate, then you're probably going to pick a type of dark blue. Or if you want to be funky and bright, you're going to pick a bright colour. And yellow, joy, hopeful; red, passionate, or sometimes dangerous. But there's a whole massive thing that goes on in your head, the psychology, that's the word I'm looking for, the psychology of colour. So yeah, try not to get too embedded in what are the most up-to-date colours, but more about actually what do the colours mean and how do they make you feel. And they are key, massively key.
Can I throw something in here? Because I know Trudie will know this, but I've seen and you'll have seen over time, you have clients who come to you and they want their logo their way, and you know full well that this is going to date really quickly. And there's kind of this balance you have to do within following a trend at the moment and your brand being able to live for 7 years and you not regret it. And in the 70s, there was tons of companies who suddenly realized once they got to 1990, their logos did not work anymore. Right?
That's true. And then you have to have a really highly skilled designer then who can give you a brand update so that you can, if you think about brands, for example, Starbucks, and how that brand started with the mermaid, the full mermaid in a circle, and how the evolution of that logo has always maintained the integrity of the image, but actually it is moving with the times and it is updating. BBC, that logo, and how that's kind of changed and moved forward and progressed, but never losing the integrity of what stands behind it and where it's come from.
Trudie does some great quizzes, don't you, on LinkedIn? Like guess the brands. I love those.
Oh, they're popular at the moment, aren't they? Because everybody's at home and doing online quizzes with family. We've had a lot of quizzes that are logos. What's this? What's that? Because I think if it stays in your mind, it's obviously a good logo, isn't it? Or that's the colour that you recognise in that particular brand.
Yeah, and colour, that's another huge one in branding. I mean, in terms of if you're consistent with the colour that you used, you become recognised for that colour.
Yeah, I've got a couple more questions for you. This one's from Melanie. So she's asking us. I've just got to find it. Does a brand over a person build relationships more effectively, i.e., a business over a freelancer? Who wants that one?
Say that again. Sorry.
So, does a brand over a person build a relationship more effectively, i.e., a business over a freelancer?
Ooh, I'll have a go, and then I'm sure Trudie can chip in on this.
Lovely.
In my opinion, you have to be really, really careful when you decide to use your name as your business, as in Dean Seddon or something like that. The reason being is if you want to scale, suddenly people will buy into one person and then won't want to deal with the next webinar, the next team member or the next person. So I think you have to be really careful. And I think as well, in a British culture, I'm not saying don't do it, but in a British culture, sometimes people think that it's a bit egotistical to use your name as your business, like Dean Seddon. There's nothing wrong with like Seddon Marketing. I think I've got a business that I run in my name, but I don't have the Dean Seddon. So you need to be very careful about that. I think you can take a spin on the name. So I really love Trudie's business name actually, because it tells you it's about her, but it's not kind of all about her. Yeah.
Glad you said that.
No. I mean, you see Jones Building and stuff like that, but when you put your full name, like Dean Seddon Advertising, the problem comes is when you start to scale up and you start to have more members of your team, and then people buy into Dean Seddon but don't want to work with your team.
And I have this question quite a lot, actually, when people are coming to me and asking for help with their company names, and it is about where you want the company to go. You know, if you were always going to be just Trudie Avery and you were never thinking of growing, then fine, you know, brand yourself as Trudie Avery, but it's about the long-term plan. So if you are thinking of growing, like Dean said, you do want to scale, or you do want to look like a business, or I work with lots of consultants, and actually to use their name is really appropriate because they have a certain amount of following and people know who they are. So yeah, the answer to that question is really, it kind of depends. It depends what your end goal is, and yeah.
Yeah, that's good advice, particularly from the freelancer world, because obviously in the freelancer world, people know your name. So do you go with your name first? Do you create a business? And I suppose, like you said, you've got to weigh up whether you've got a business name and you're growing, or you're happy to be
and
Karen
the perception
Edwards.
as well. What perception do you want people to have of you? I mean, the perception is that if you're a freelancer, you're potentially going to be cheaper than an agency. You know, but there again, if you're a freelancer, people wouldn't expect as much as they would from an agency. So whatever reflects you the best.
Yeah.
And I think as well, if you flip it round, if you're a freelancer, people will get to know you anyway. So even if your name was a bit more obscure, shall we say, or not your full name, when customers ring up and get into contact, they're going to build that relationship with you personally anyway. So most people in that scenario would say, you know, I'm going to reach out to Matt or Dean or Tim or whoever to get this done. So I don't think it matters so much as a freelancer whether you either way, but obviously Trudie's bang on the money. If you try and scale up, or you've got a longer term future plan, you need to think about what the name of that longer term plan is.
Yeah, because if you want to sell your company at the end,
and anybody who plans to sell their business needs to study the history of what happened to Colonel Sanders from KFC. Yeah. So have a look at that. It's really important.
That's some homework for everybody. Have a read on that. We've just got a couple more questions. So, Trudie, this is for you. Once you have a brand image for your event or business, how important is it to stay on brand?
Massive.
Massive.
Important. It's you know, it's so important to stay on brand. You get people. I see people all the time, and they have their logo, they have their fonts, they have their brand colours, but actually they're a bit bored of them today, so they're just going to use something else. Oh, I really fancy this curly font today, I think I'll just use that. And oh, actually I rather like this colour today, so I think I'll just like that, just use that. And it's like, every time you do that, every time you present yourself a different way, you might as well be a whole different company, because you have to be seen between 5 and 7 times for people to really start to recognise you. So if every time they see you, you look different, they're never going to make that connection. They're never going to get that you are that person that they saw a few days ago, because you don't look the same. You can't assume people will remember you ever. So that's why consistency is like the biggest thing, and I can't stress that enough. Consistency. Same colour, same font, same logo, every time, all the time.
So that's the one thing to take away from this. It's massively important to stay on the brand that you've created. Don't deviate from it. I've got another question.
Can I add something? Sorry. I'm not going to disagree with Trudie, because I agree with her 100%. But where I do see some go wrong, and Trudie, you'll probably align with this, is on social media. some of those people then take what's a corporate route and remove all personality from it. So you need to have some personality with it. Don't go, curly fonts, Comic Sans. Don't go anywhere near that stuff. Yeah. But
she's breaking out in the cold sweat now.
What you also have to do is put your brand in where is it in its life cycle, in the sense of, if you're a bank, you can't do some things with your brand that perhaps you can if you're in a retailing environment. So there is flex in terms of personality, but yes, you shouldn't be deviating and inventing new color palettes every week or anything.
Lovely, thank you. I've got another question. It's quite a long question, so bear with me. So this is from Alfie Jones here. What is the best way to create your visual brand identity? If you have your customer profiles and know the demographic, is there anything else you can use to make sure your visual identity ends up as solid as possible? Do you have any thoughts, guidelines on this, pitfalls to avoid?
So really, I mean, I'm just going to come back to this thing about perception again. And what is it that they want? What is it that they need? Why are they even looking at you? So it's not just about who they are, it's about what their problems are and why are they coming to you. So just as well as understanding who they are, what they look like, where do they shop, how much money they're earning, what kind of education have they got, what car do they drive. You can pick up, you can produce a really powerful persona, a real powerful vision of the person who you're talking to. But at the end of the day, how do they need to feel about you? And that's the most powerful thing. It's where their emotion comes from. So what problem do they have that you can solve?
Okay.
Okay.
So again, one of the things that I love about kind of segmentation and stuff, marketing segmentation, is the psychographics. So what I try and look for a lot of the time in terms of marketing and how to tally that with the brand is, what would be the questions and how would my ideal customer be asking those questions? So Phoebe, Trudie's talked about the pain points, absolutely massive pain points. But then the art is let's say, for an example, we're having a conversation and I ask the question that you've been thinking about. Suddenly, not only does your brand and all the kind of graphics that go with it, but the message starts to go, do you know what? I was asking that. And suddenly you become very relevant and you create a bridge for which suddenly people go, you know what you're talking about. You know exactly what I'm thinking almost. And that's the scenario you want, is if you can almost get inside the customer's head and think, how would they ask this question? How would they solve this problem? Then suddenly you've got a really powerful message that backs up the brand.
That's good. All good. I've just got one final question. It's another long one. Ready? So this is from Ian Haitley. Any tips for how to market yourself as a new brand or company to the market without being too aggressive, i.e. overloading social media posts or contacting potential customers too much? What is the best balance of being visible but not overdoing it?
Oh, shall I go first?
You go first.
Thank you.
I might upset everybody with this one. So Trudie's already said it 7 to 8 times for somebody to even remember who you are. 7 to 8 times.
15 to 30 on social media.
Yeah. So you will tire of your message before people even know who you are. Yeah. And if you remember that, because you'll be going, I'm doing too much. No, nobody's even remembered who you are yet. Yeah. So if you're tired after 3 or 4 times, people don't even know yet.
My gosh.
It's so another 20 on top.
I'll give you an example. We do a lot of email marketing for clients. Yeah. we've seen sales, and Joe, you know about this because you've seen the examples yourself.
Yeah.
23rd email purchase. Yeah, 23rd.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
now there's something in the frequency, because if you did 23 emails on one day, they'd know who you were.
They'd have blocked you.
But that's a bad idea. But you need to think of it like a marathon and go, how can I keep getting that message out over and over? How can I vary the way I display it? So I'm not like a repeating exactly word for word, but I'm saying the same thing just in different ways.
Absolutely agree with that. I've just been listening to the 10X rule by Grant Cardone, and he's just said, like, for the amount of people who complain that they're seeing too much of you, you get 10 leads of people who are like, oh right, yeah, you're there. Because, you know, is it worth upsetting the odd person who thinks that you're too visible, or over the top of actually just getting out there and making sure that everybody can see you? I think the latter, rather. You know, don't worry about being too visible. How can you be too visible?
There's a great study for anybody who's kind of really into the kind of marketing stuff and branding stuff, and it's too much to go into this conversation, but it's really worth a read. It's by Les Binet, and it's called The Long and Short of It. And what they've done is they've analyzed brand marketing versus lead generation, effectively, things that'll generate sales now versus brand marketing. And in the short term, that kind of leads now, sales now works hands down. But once you get over 6 months, it starts to fail. The performance of the business never improves. The only way to grow a business in the long run is that brand awareness, getting people to know who you are, what you stand for, the value you can add. That's the thing that will take you a long, long way. So they actually advocate spending 60% of your budget on things that will just generate awareness, 40% on the now, get sales tomorrow kind of stuff.
And that's the thing, isn't it? The whole, just because you're visible doesn't mean you have to be out there selling, because, you know, you can be out there giving away information, giving away your expertise, helping people to understand things better, and giving free hints and tips. You can be out there educating, entertaining, delivering all kinds of ways of getting your message across without being up there saying, buy from me now, buy from me, because that would be too much. That would be just annoying. But that's not it. That's not all of it.
It's nice to be able to weave the message through. So, you know, inadvertently, yes, of course, you're going to sell what you're selling, but it's nice to show a bit of your personality, because people will be buying from you. So, you know, that's what I feel, is that people need to, they need to like, know and trust you, don't they? So, you know, that's my thoughts on it. I agree, really. But repetition's definitely the way forward.
I've just got 2 really quick questions. Really quick. Trudie, what is the best brand that you've ever seen, kind of for longevity and impact? What would you say is like either your like top 1 or 2 that you've seen?
I hate this question. I love brands. I love branding and see it everywhere. But do you know what my favourite logo is at the moment? Caveat. Wren Kitchens. I love that logo. I love the fact that it uses negative space to create the bird, and I love logos like that. For me, just simplicity really, really rules, and that's just my favourite brand in terms of the way that it looks. So I love that logo.
And then last one for you, Dean. You know what I'm going to say? What's the best marketing campaign that you've seen, and why was it your top marketing campaign?
Oh, wow. Okay, so best marketing campaign I've ever seen. I think it was Obama's election campaign the first time around. And the reason I say that is he managed, if you think about American politics, it's a lot of big money. Yeah, it's lots of people with lots of money plowing into campaigns. What Obama did for the first time was he convinced lots of millions and millions of people to put $5 and $10 in. So he went, which is, you know, again, contrary to what a lot of people do, they go for the big money first and leave the little money left on the table. He went for all the little money first, and it was incredible to see it. And people bought into change and put their money where their mouth is on millions of people. It was incredible to watch it happen.
Fab. Thank you. Well, that's the last of our questions. So thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate you answering those questions.
No worries, I could go on all day.
We'll just do it again next week if you want. Come back.
Revisited. Well, I hope everybody's enjoyed today's session as much as we have. It's been really, really informative. I've made loads of notes while you've all been talking, so thanks, guys. If you'd like to know more about the Training Academy, we are live now, so there's event management training, there's a branding masterclass, there's marketing masterclasses, there's so much on there now, so we can send you the links and information. We do have some online communities with Facebook, LinkedIn, and we do have a YouTube channel, so we can again send all the links to those if you're interested in booking on. But again, if anyone's got any questions or wants to fire directly to Trudie Avery from Avery Creative or Dean Seddon from Maverick, please do. They're brilliant. So we've been working with both of these guys for the last year or so, and you know, nothing but praise to give them both. So yeah, thanks for your time both. We've really enjoyed it.
It was fun.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Have a good week. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.